Carolyn Morris. I'm one of the co-founders of ZooperFit, and I'm so happy to have Nishta Saxena join us today. Nishta is a registered dietitian. She's a pediatric nutritionist, and she's the owner of Vibrant Nutrition, which is a great company helping families around the world transform their lives through nutrition. So thanks for joining me, Nish.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me, Carolyn. I'm so happy to be here with your project, ZooperFit. And all I would just say is about Vibrant Nutrition is we help families fix their food problems. You know, families we have they all have the same problems, wherever they're from, whatever stage they're at, the problems families face in terms of understanding nutrition and how it can really transform their life as a family and help everybody grow and develop the right way. That's really what we do at Vibrant Nutrition is we help solve problems. So that's the only other thing I would say about our company. We've been around for a long time. We've helped thousands of families. And so we look forward to talking today a little bit about some of our nutrition philosophy with you.
I'd love to know what your number one tip is for parents when it comes to nutrition. What's that one thing the one thing that could make a big change for people?
I would say the number one thing, it's tough to pick just one, but the number one thing is probably start early. Okay. So early intervention, start thinking about this early in terms of, when you have children, how do you want, your family's food and eating and nutrition and behaviors to be like, right from when your children are infants. We know for a fact that the earlier we get good patterns and behaviors happening in a family, the more likely we are to have lifelong healthy behaviors when it comes to eating and our relationship with food and how we think about food and the foods we want to energize and nourish our body with. So start early. Don't wait. I think I hear from parents sometimes they think, kids are kids. They're just kids. And, when they get older, they'll eat like adults. And if we're not actually coaching them to eat, in a way that nourishes themselves and understand how food affects their body and understand that all foods can fit, they won't actually learn that. And they'll have a higher likelihood of having problems later on. So start early. And real quick second would be role model. We want to make sure that as parents, we can't really expect our children to be eating, diverse palette of vegetables if we ourselves are not doing that. So role modeling is also key.
I'm thinking of my own daughter here, but we often feel like we're nagging, right? Like it's instead of nagging, is there, I don't want to eat my carrots. I don't want to eat salad. Is there any tip you have for that?
Yeah, don't do that. That's my tip. Don't nag your children. Don't goad them. Don't bribe them with dessert or other treats or more of a food they like. We really want to remove all of that emotional labor from feeding our kids. And I know it sounds very easy to do. When you have a 7 or 8 or 9-year-old, that's why I suggest starting early, because we want to have the programming in there early that for them to understand that these are foods that can actually be delicious and beneficial to them. When we get into bribing and trying to force our kids to eat, or we suggest, you need to finish the vegetables on your plate, or you can't have this, or come on and have it, you'll like it, and all those types of things, then nagging really backfires in the long term. You might get some short-term wins. You might get a kid that puts some of these vegetables in their mouths, but long term, they're not interested in understanding and connected to why they are eating these foods that we know nourish them. So my best advice is get help early on to help shape the dynamic at the table and what everybody's role is, so that you don't get into a position where you've been nagging your children for 5 years. Not that you have, I just mean that's what we don't want.
Yeah, I have to admit I'm guilty. I could use a little bit more inspiration at the table versus nagging. But I think that when you have a love for the food, then that it shifts the dynamic.
Yeah, and I think it's a common thing that when we think as parents, we want our kids to we've gone through a lot, and we want our kids to understand our experience. Maybe we didn't like vegetables when we were younger, but now we know how important they are for health. You really can't tell your children anything. I know that's a strange thing to say as a parent. You really do just have to show them, and they have to feel the effect of something for them to actually engage with it and for them to innately want to change. So it is something that requires a little bit of earlier coaching and intervention. Of course, I help kids at all stages, and it is possible to shift some of these if you've gotten into having a picky eater or a child that's really low in their food variety. It doesn't mean it's a done deal if they're over 5 years old, but That is why we actually want people to start early, is because you can just shift the way you approach it, and that can actually increase your child's interest without nagging.
What do most parents struggle with when it comes to healthy eating? We talked about nagging. Are there any other things that you found parents have come to you and just say, well, I can't deal with this?
I think that's a great question. I actually think a common problem is a lot of parents don't know what healthy eating looks like. We have run into a series of generations of parents that have had two working parents in their household, for those that had two parents in their household, and who didn't cook. So I actually have a lot of parents who didn't really learn the life skill of cooking and preparing food, or preparing food for their own selves. And therefore it becomes a problem when they have kids. They all of a sudden kind of, they may have had some strange issues and patterns with food themselves. And they often come to me and say, I don't really even know what healthy eating is. So it's not just a matter as well of, I really don't like the concept of people thinking, well, certain foods are, clean and good, and other foods are bad. All of that is just a whole bunch of nonsense. So that is also a lot of programming I see parents happen in their own life, and they have kids, and they're sitting there going, I actually don't know which of these is a good choice. What's the balance? So that's probably the number one thing I would say parents struggle with.
And just on that, does it have to be a big thing? You're like, if you are two working parents and you're trying to figure out how to eat right so you can be that model to your kids, does it have to be like quit your job and cook all day? Like, are there simple,
No,
how do you
not.
get there?
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know how each different family is different, but I would say you get there by prioritizing it. So even if you prioritize things in terms of shopping and making sure you have some time for prep, it's not hard at all to make simple, quick, easy meals. That's actually one of the main things that I help families with. There's a barrier because I think we think the word healthy food and we think, oh my gosh, that is going to take a long time or a lot of ingredients, or I don't know how to do that because I didn't grow up eating that way. And in fact, it's not complicated at all. It's actually much simpler than relying on a lot of other packaged and processed foods over time. But it does take prioritization. What are we prioritizing these days? Maybe sometimes a little bit too much energy into the wrong things and not enough into learning how to feed ourselves and teach our kids how to feed themselves. Because frankly, no one else is teaching your kids that. So it's so important that they learn this at home.
This brings us actually quite nicely into my other question, which is what nutrition advice out there makes you angry? Like, what do you think? What do you hear that really makes you angry because you think it's a misguided advice that people are getting, that families are getting?
I've been doing this for a long time, well over 14, 15 years. So I don't really get angry anymore because nothing really shocks me. But what I would say is it's disappointing. I feel like it's really unfortunate when families fall down the path of thinking there's some type of a quick fix. So whether that's like supplements, or I'll just start, ordering takeout, but it's like quote unquote takeout from this place that's supposed to be healthy. But these are things that I think are not really answering the root cause and the problem of why you're not, you might be struggling at home. So, I am not anti-supplement in any way. I think there's fantastic supplements out there that can be very beneficial, but, just to think, well, we don't really eat that well, so we'll just take these pills. That's unfortunately like not effective. It doesn't actually improve health or reduce illness in long term. And unfortunately, we just don't know what's in a lot of the stuff that people are being coached to buy and parents are being coached to buy. So that really makes me sad when parents are spending money on these things when we have there's absolutely, supplement companies that do research and do studies to prove that their supplement has an effect. Love that. But when we don't have that, which is most 99.99%, I hate seeing families spending a huge portion of their budget on supplements to try to fix their nutrition. And yeah, I would just say quick Band-Aid solutions, that are very expensive. They can work for a short time. They can get you through, but days become years. And when you're a really busy working parent, if you're relying on a lot of like takeout or fast meals or whatnot, yes, you're feeding your family, but no one is actually tapping into their connection with food, and no one's learning the life skill of how to prepare it, how to shop for it, how to budget, and what food does in our body, right? And so it's a little bit unconscious. So I think that's something else that I feel terrible when I see parents that have relied on things like that. And they thought it would be for a few months, and fast forward, it's 5 years later.
What is it that you love the most about what you do, about your work, about your business? What's the moment when you're just like, this is amazing?
Oh, I mean, there's nothing better than having both just seeing in a child and seeing it and having a parent tell me, but also children can express themselves, telling me, yeah, like you've helped me change my life, or you've helped change our lives, the way our relationship with food, how we eat food. We don't have dinner time battles anymore. We're not struggling to understand what portions we should eat. We actually feel the difference. And when I hear parents and kids even saying, describing in their own way, like, yeah, I like these foods now, and, they're not scary, or I eat them, or we have them as a family. And you can see and feel that shift, which I know will be a lifelong shift. So, this isn't temporary work where, it's a quick fix and then you're going to run into the problems. I mean, through the ages and stages of childhood development, it's natural for things to ebb and flow, right? Whether it's their eating patterns, sleep habits, all of those things. But when we learn lifelong behaviors at a very early age, and parents feel the shift and the kids feel the shift, that is absolutely magical to me.
Coming back to ZooperFit, and we're all about physical activity, I was curious to ask how you incorporate physical activity into your family life.
We're pretty active. How I incorporated it is just part of our life. So, my children see me prioritizing physical activity because for me, it's something that's really important for my wellness, my mental health, my energy levels. I'm an extremely busy mother of two, like everyone watching. And I just can't function properly if I am not taking care of myself. So my kids watch me prioritize my own health and fitness. And then I bring them in on that because we do lots of things together as a family. So we love skiing and racket sports. And, we will even go for like runs and bike rides, and just even go to a park and make, fun games like tag or, play equipment. We just incorporate it as it's a natural part of our day. It's a natural part of how we spend time together as a family, because we get joy by having an interaction that's like physically active, so it's part of just the way that we parent. And it's also something that my husband and I role model for our kids. That's another thing, like doing fun things, like, trying something like a ZooperFit and being together, and you get to be a bit silly, but, it's not, what would I say? We have to make sure that when kids do something, I'm sure all the parents out there know, it has to be fun. It has to be fun. If it's not fun, we're not going to do it. And just like eating vegetables, we don't want exercise to become something that's like, it's this thing I have to do. That's terrible mindset, right? We want it to be joyful. Movement should be fun and joyful. And then that tells our body and gives us the feedback like, I love this. I feel great. We did do ZooperFit and it was super fun. I think I was burst out laughing because it was pretty funny. Like good funny, haha, not funny weird.
They probably got a kick out of the other mom.
Oh yeah. That was a big moment for us. Yes.
Oh, that's great. My other question is, how do people get involved with Vibrant Nutrition? If they want to learn more, about adopting some of these things you're talking about, I would just love to know where they can go.
Well, I'm happy to tell you. You can go to our website, which is probably going to be under construction by the time this is posted, but maybe it'll look amazing soon. But right now the URL is simplyvibrantnutrition.com. You can always message me or follow me on Instagram. I would love that. I love having getting the message out to parents that, feeding your kids does not have to be complex. It doesn't have to be full of special foods and supplements. It doesn't have to make you feel bad. It doesn't have to be a battle. It can be simple and easy.
Thank you so much. This has been such a great conversation and I've learned a lot. So thank you.
My pleasure. It was great to be here and talk to you today.